Welcome back to Kicking It with Kenya. I enjoyed filming so much last time. We had to do it again before the summer was up. Everything during this time, I think the last episode we left y'all with was during the coronavirus pandemic and things like that, and how we feel about things opening up. One of the things that is obviously starting a lot of controversy is schools. Should schools open up, yes or no? I'm a teacher, so I will give perspective on how I feel about it. But also there are other things opening up and other spikes happening across the board. Spikes in Florida, spikes in Atlanta. Allegedly, Atlanta went back to phase 1. So it's like, how do we feel about the progression of things happening during the COVID? Was it too fast? Or do we feel like it's inevitable at the same time for these spikes to happen?
I feel like it's inevitable because if you close down an area and nobody's going anywhere, nobody's outside, and obviously you're going to have smaller numbers than when the area opens back up, and then you have them going back out and going around with the people and all that. So I think it's kind of inevitable. I do think that there are certain precautions that you can take, that you should take, to make sure certain people are covered, certain people are safe. I do think one of the things, like certain businesses, like if you're like grocery stores, the essential places, grocery stores,
Post offices, maybe.
Yeah, those type of businesses. I understand that, but then I do feel like there's certain places that you should take a little more caution with: clubs, bars, those type of things. However, on the other side, I feel for the people that work in these areas where they want to make money. You know what I mean? They need to make money. They want to, some people may not be fortunate enough to get unemployment. Some people have families. Some people, everybody's situation is different. So if you are a person that works in one of these fields and you're looking like, I want to get back to work, I feel for both sides. I think that's why this is such a touchy thing, because I don't necessarily think either side is wrong. I think everybody's perspective is different, but I do see the argument on both sides of the spectrum. Now, when you're talking about schools, I think it's a little...
It's like when I look at the plans for schools, first of all, there is no concrete plan, which is also a problem in itself. I always said, and like I said, no way am I a politician, but I just feel like there had to have been ways to handle this better. Like once we started shutting down things in March, I feel like around May, they should have been like, no matter what the state is with the coronavirus, we're just not going to open schools until January. We're going to see where we at in January. Because I just feel like if you at least would have made that decision in May, then you would have had the month of June, July, and August to at least perfect what virtual learning would look like. So that this way, when like with us, we got training coming up. So if we're in training, we actually have a solid thing that's saying this is what virtual learning is going to look like for the months of September, October, November, December. Then during the months of September, October, November, December, they could have worked on what it's going to look like to bring kids in come January. I just feel like there's a way where we could have did this. For the fact that we have no decisions still, and it's like almost the end of July, I just feel like I already predict the up and coming shit show. If that makes sense. Because virtual learning, I know one of the issues was the fact that they felt like a lot of kids wasn't learning. A lot of schools dropped the ball, which makes sense. This was the first time for everybody doing something like this. But now that we know what's happening, I just feel like I don't know what's happening up there with these politicians, but it's like y'all didn't even decide on a plan to perfect. So I just like the fact that one of the plans is, I think I heard something like 2 days in, 3 days out. How the hell is that going to help parents? Like, it's still not addressing the fact that if you do open things back up and parents have to go to work, who's watching the kids 3 days out? Like, that doesn't make sense to me at all. Or like if you like they was like, oh, maybe we could have schools open only from like 8 to 12, like a few hours in a day. Once again, how's that helping for the parent who has to go to work? Who's picking this kid up at 12 if I just drop them off at 8? Then it's like I saw another plan that was like kindergarten and first grade go to school, but then second and above stay home. But once again, what about those parents who have siblings? So I got to drop one off and then keep one home. I still have to go to work. How is that going to work? So
what do you think the course of action should be? You think that the school should just be shut down and do everything from home?
I personally feel like if you're going to open up schools, I do believe that the only grade that should go into schools should be K and 1, because they do need that hands-on approach, and you can make that role volunteer. Like, what teacher feels comfortable going to school? And then, like, at that moment, whatever your role is, if you was a third grade teacher and you're saying, I don't mind going to school, okay, you're teaching K to that. And then maybe over the summer, you get your, like, little virtual training session or whatever like that. But if we are going to open up schools, I really do think that kindergarten benefits from that actual personal interaction. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of them don't even know how to hold a pencil. So how are we going to expect them to virtually learn? That's not going to work unless, like, we really have dedicated parents. But that's a different subject. And then I feel like if you keep it K and 1, like if second and above stay home, then at least more schools will be open so that you have space, which means we could now only have 10 kids in this one class because we could use the school across the street. Like with us, my school, we have an elementary and a middle school. Mm-hmm. So middle schoolers aren't using it. K and 1 can. And we could use those classrooms, which means now we could like really make it safe to have like smaller class sizes, 6 feet apart. My thing is when they was talking about, oh yeah, we could open up schools 6 feet apart. What space? Have y'all been inside of a public school? Like, I don't know I feel like a lot of these plans only work with those who are fortunate. And they're not really thinking about those that are like lower income households. Mm-hmm. And that to me is the problem, because it's like the private school people, they could work from home. A lot of them have the jobs where they can do that, which is why a lot of them are probably opting out of sending their kids to school. But lower income, if you're opening things up and people got to go to work, how is this going to work? Unless you're given a virtual option but then I saw that. Like I saw like, oh, we could split the classes and stream. Like we will set up a survey out to parents or something and see what kids qualify to be in the building, what kids don't. But I know some ghetto parents who drop their kids off just because they know that building open. Like, oh, you going to school today? So even that's going to be a mess. It doesn't make sense to me. But if there is a plan, I feel like K and 1 should have priority over going to school in person. Like, we could open that up full grade and just use the schools that are not being used to make class sizes smaller. Like, if this school is near your area, your kid is going to this school if they're in K and 1, if that makes sense. And then like second and above, stay home and virtual learn. That's it. Because I also with the trains that people aren't taking into consideration schools, is the fact the trains are going to get crowded. Half of our system is used to transport kids to and from school. So now you're packing a smaller space, which is the train carts, up again. So what about that 6 feet issue that we was having before with the coronavirus? Now that's out the window because we're contacting people on the train. And that was what the purpose of the city being shut down in the first place was. So me personally, I don't feel like schools need to open because I don't want to sound like Game of Thrones, but winter is coming. And if you know anything about winter, we already have to deal with the flu, pneumonia, and the common cold. What if a kid gets scanned and they just have now you just can't come in the building? That's going to happen a lot. Because they're talking about scan a kid, sanitize a kid. There's going to be so many call outs, so many like kids just probably being sick, but we don't know if it's the corona. Like, we just don't know. Because it's like illnesses tend to come in the wintertime. So it's like, that's why I feel like schools need to just be shut down until at least January. Just so we could see is there any more spikes? Is there any rises? Are people getting sick? Are people healthy? Whatever. Like, and then they could just perfect the better plan on re-entry. But I just see a bunch of stress. And a lot of teachers are already stressed because we still don't know what's happening. And that's really like the major problem I have is like as a teacher, I want to enjoy my summer, but I can't because I don't know what to expect when the school year opens.
So from your perspective of a teacher, do you prefer the virtual way that you've been doing it to go for the foreseeable future? Because then those issues that you're speaking on now, you're going to run into down the road anyway.
Because we're going to shut down again. Like, what makes you, like, my thing is, we're going to open up schools, right? And let's just say we have another spike. Now we're back to virtual anyway. So what's the purpose? I feel like we need to stop fighting what's the inevitable. The inevitable is virtual learning. It's going to be the future. Eventually, all of this, like these buildings actually going to physical school, I personally don't believe that's going to be the norm for if I have kids, if you have kids, or anybody, like our future kids or even their kids. There's going to be a time there's not going to be no school building. So let's just stop fighting it. This is creating a window anyway. So let's perfect it. And let's figure out how this could work. Now, the thing that sucks is a lot of parents don't have those type of jobs that provide that luxury of staying home. But then it's like, it comes a time where when are you going to start moving with the current? You know, how many times, like, when are you going to learn that? You know, like, when you said I could see both sides, it's like, I see both sides, but I also see 10 steps ahead. Mm-hmm. You can't possibly think that the job you have now is still going to be around 10 years from now. You can't think that. The coronavirus just showed you that. If you didn't think in your mind, it's time for me to look at a job that go into medicine, like the STEMs. What does the S stand for? I can't remember in STEM. Science, technology, engineering, medical, engineering, education, or medical. If you're not thinking of those type of jobs by now, after this coronavirus, then it's like, you're not really preparing yourself either. I don't know. I mean, am I thinking harshly?
No, I don't think you're thinking harshly. I think you're thinking realistically, and realistic scares people because a lot of people don't want to look at the real world. But you also have to look situationally. Mm-hmm. A lot of people may not have the education. A lot of people may not have the opportunities, the resources. So everybody's situation is different. So for some people, when it comes to what the coronavirus did, that's why it's so damaging. That's why when I said I could see it from both sides, because I also see it from the people that haven't worked and they want to get back to working, and the people that are looking like, listen, I'll put my health at risk to go out there and make money so I can take care of myself, take care of my family, whatever. Because people in that situation are looking at it from just a daily thing. You put your health at risk when you get behind a car. You put your health at risk when you walk out your front door every single day. Something could happen to you. You know what I'm saying? Even when people look at it as if you're immunocompromised, If you're immunocompromised, the common cold, the flu, anything could be detrimental to you. Kidney failure, diabetes, high blood sugar, cholesterol, all of that. That's all a risk. Cancer. You know what I'm saying? Like you have so many people so worried about certain things, those type of things that are very common, even smoking. You know, you walk past someone that smokes, secondhand smoke, you can catch something and you're not even smoking. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I think that everybody's situation is different, but I do think you are onto something when you say, you know, you're looking towards the future. And I think even the people that do look towards the future, sometimes they don't have the resources or they don't know necessarily what they want to do. Even starting your own business. That's why a lot of people are on the start your own business tip. Even with that, like, not every business is going to be a success. A
lot of them suffered because of this coronavirus.
Yeah, and this showed you too. Like a lot of people that did start businesses hurt. Some mom and pops went under. Nothing's guaranteed.
But see, it's like even in then, do your research. What business? All right, restaurants. That was always a fickle business. Mm-hmm. But if you was to have put that money in a laundromat, you probably would have been okay. You know what I'm saying? Because those businesses, like, there's not a time that nobody's gonna be like, oh my God, there's laundromats here. No, that will always seem to make money. Like, so it's like, once again, it's like, do your research on things. Like, but I understand you saying that some people don't have that opportunity but I just feel like even in that, like, you make it. Mm-hmm. You know, Google is your friend. We all have it on our phones. We all have we have walking computers. There's nothing that you can't research if you really want it. So it's like, If you are like, oh my God, I'm out of a job and you work in retail, sweetheart, retail was always going to go under. It was always going to go under eventually. Like, if you look at everything that's happening with Forever 21 going bankrupt, with I remember the brands we grew up on, Aeropostale and is that Pastel or Pastel? Whatever. But Aero, like all of these places that like they're gone. Like we're not shopping there anymore. Want to know why? Because the internet. People rather get their clothes from the internet. So if you're not thinking like, okay, these like certain jobs that you're in. So this is why, like I said, I understand that some people are the type, like they're not type. Some people are struggling with, but I gotta go to work. But why are you putting yourself at risk for a job that's not going to be around for the next like 10 to 15 years? Mm-hmm. That's not going to be around. So it's like, if you're going to put yourself at risk, go to school. You know, figure it out. Like, or like at the very least, I always tell people, there's no harm in taking a trade. There's always going to be a need for plumbers. There's always going to be a need for like somebody in nursing, especially now. Mm-hmm. Like you could go do something. Like even if you don't have a dream, get something that's more concrete until you figure your dream out. So that this way you can have the ability to be like, I can stay from home, or you got at least benefits enough where you get paid by taking days off.
That's thinking ahead, because now you're thinking to jobs that they're not the sexiest jobs in the world, but they're the ones that it's like what you said, laundromat. It's like a funeral home. You know what I'm saying?
You always make money. You always make money if you own a funeral home.
That's what I mean. So you look at you're talking about people looking at these jobs that, like I said, they aren't the sexiest jobs, or they're quote unquote the jobs that nobody really wants to do. Everybody wants to do even when you start a business, everybody wants to own a club or own this, or and a lot of and what this showed you is that how fast it can be effective, but what it also showed you is how companies can possibly adapt. Like one thing that I learned from even the company that I work for is you need to have an online option.
You do.
If you are going to be a store that's selling a type of product, you have to have online services, because people may not want to come to the store. Even if, like I work in furniture, you have people that may want to come to the store just to try it out, but they already, because they want to buy it online, or they're going to buy it online.
Because the deal is there.
Yeah, and they want to just see how it feels, but they're not necessarily going to buy from the store. So if you have that option too, it's just another avenue to which your business can survive it. Even with restaurants, you have certain restaurants that, like I think Papa John's or whatever, start delivering, or you can do something to try to separate yourself from these other businesses, because people have to eat. So if you're a quick eat, but you make it easy, you make it as easy as you possibly can for the consumer. So if you do, when you try to do that to get the people to really keep coming back to you. And I think with schools, like when you said with virtual online classes, you already have a lot of online classes. A lot of people take classes online, and
college at this point, you can do it online.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be, I think if we're in the transitional period, we're hitting this is the test, you got to test certain things out, because the problem that I may assume you may run in as a teacher teaching younger kids is are they gonna, like if you're a college student doing online classes, you understand the importance of what you're doing. Yourself. But if you're a younger kid that can barely pay attention when you're in class, when there's a teacher right next to you, how are you going to not get distracted at home?
But the funny thing is, those kids this year, when I was teaching them, like when I tell you I had kids that used to make me want to pull my hair out, virtually, it was the best. They were the best kids. They were literally the best kids. I actually fell in love with some of my kids that I really wasn't like, I'm not going to say not a fan of, but because that's not a good word, but it's like they were like a little tricky. But virtually they were the best. And honestly, I felt like I built the best relationship with their parents virtually too, because they were sitting right there. And it kind of helped. But also I feel like there were those kids who was kindergarten. There were those kids who was just like on it before I was. Like if they had a time slot, they were already waiting in the waiting room for me to come on. Because once again, that's the conversations you have to have at home. And that's the reason why I when I see politicians and stuff talking about, oh, well, a lot of kids wasn't learning. Okay, so at this point, that's not my fault. That is a parent problem. You know what I'm saying? That's not my fault. They're at home now. So if I'm setting up these hours and your kid is not making it, or I'm providing the homework, providing the resources, providing everything that I could possibly provide for you, and your kid didn't learn, so no, that's no longer a problem on me. That's a problem on your household. But there's always going to be households like that, regardless of schools opening or not. So let's not base the judgment of these kids, this small subset of kids or whatever did not learn to justify opening up schools. Because guess what? Those are the same kids that don't do homework when they're in school anyway. Like, and I'm not saying by all means we're giving up on those kids, because we're not. But at the same time, it's like, let's not use that as the catalyst for opening up schools. Because we have to, like I said, move with the times. I personally feel like we could use those buildings for something more. We have a homeless problem in New York. Why are we not? We have literally a school every 2 blocks. We have a homeless problem in New York. Some of those could be shelters. We have a housing issue in New York. Some of those could be apartments. I feel like we could do a lot more with, we could use those for green energy. I don't know. But I feel like there's a lot of buildings that like are being used for school. And I've been in buildings where some of the classrooms aren't even being used because they're under enrolled. Mm. So it's just like, I just feel like we're fighting something that's going to happen anyway. So let's just make it no matter what. Schools are not opening until January. Because now what you're saying with all like the smoking and but those are individual hazards. Mm-hmm. We can't act like, whether people want to believe the hype or not, a lot of people died at once. And that's really scary to see, like, a lot of people die at once from one thing. Now, whether it was for the Rona or medical neglect, whatever. But it's still like a pandemic that hit the world. So this is why you don't want to rush something like that. As far as diabetes and stuff, that's you and your eating habits. Smoking or whatever, that's where you put yourself. Well, as far as like everything else, that's like kind of like a individual thing. And yes, of course, smoking kills more people, but don't smoke. Like, you know.
I mean, there's people that don't smoke that still die from it.
Yeah, I know, but it's like
smoke's still a thing.
It is a thing. It is a thing. But I'm just saying, like, it's like mostly. I just feel like when it comes down to Rona, like everybody was affected. You knew somebody, either you had it, whatever. It was really like a wave. So it's like, let's not jeopardize those people again to eventually shut down again. Like, just like Atlanta, like I think it's Atlanta that's back in phase 1. Because y'all opened up, now you're shut down. So all of that business is gone. And once again, you opened up and still was allowing people to travel to your state. Why? I would have closed the state. Like, we can't close the state. You can't come in here. A lot of that, like, you got people flying in Florida, Atlanta, because they know New York wasn't open yet. But it's like, you just allowing people to travel in the state? That doesn't make any sense. Like, we trying to keep this contained, not have it up again. But that's just my thoughts as far as school is concerned, as far as everything is concerned. Like, so I would say, as far as opening, and Louis, you could chime in, I just think with this type of pandemic or anything, we all need to start thinking 10 steps ahead. I mean, do you agree?
Yeah, I think that dealing with the pandemic in general, if we were thinking ahead, seeing how it affected other areas first, we may not be in the hole we're in now. You know, if we didn't look at the virus as a fake virus created by the Democrats, you know what I'm saying? Maybe
things could have been
we would have been better prepared, better equipped to handle a lot of what we weren't. You know, now it's like you're just trying to dig yourself out the hole, and are you going too fast? You know, so you're basically going by trial and error now. Yeah,
and with no plan in place. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, let us know what you think about this conversation. Do you believe school should open? Yes or no? As always, like, subscribe, follow, share. And until next time,